The White House, despite its enduring classical appearance, is not a static historical monument, but a dynamic, ever-changing structure. Its history is punctuated by three monumental periods of renovation: the post-1814 rebuild, the 1902 Theodore Roosevelt renovation, and the 1948 to 1952 Harry S. Truman Reconstruction. Analyzing these changes reveals a constant struggle to balance two competing priorities: preserving its iconic status as a symbol of democracy and adapting it to serve as the functional, modern headquarters of the world's most powerful office. Summary and analysis. The cumulative effect of these major projects is that the interior of the White House is vastly different from its original 18th century design. The 1817 reconstruction restored the building's shell, but set the stage for later structural additions like the north and south porticos. The 1902 renovation was an administrative overhaul, while the 1952 reconstruction was a structural imperative. Collectively, these efforts transformed the White House from a stately, yet basic 18th century home into a sophisticated, steel-framed command center, all while meticulously preserving the historical appearance of its exterior walls. Reasons and consequences of key renovations. Each renovation was driven by distinct necessities and yielded permanent consequences for the function of the presidency. 1. The post-war of 1812 rebuild, post-1814. Reason. The most immediate reason was necessity, as British forces set the building ablaze in 1814. Much of the interior was destroyed, leaving the sandstone walls charred. Consequence. The reconstruction, completed by 1817, was deliberately faithful to the original design, emphasizing stability and the continuity of the American government. It established the powerful neoclassical aesthetic that has defined the White House ever since, setting the expectation that the building's outer appearance must be preserved at all costs. The subsequent addition of the iconic north and south porticos finalized this classical image. 2. The Theodore Roosevelt renovation, 1902. Reason. By the turn of the 20th century, the growing complexity of the executive branch had caused critical overcrowding. The president's family and staff worked on the same floor, leading to clutter and a lack of privacy. Roosevelt's primary goal was the functional separation of the executive office from the family residence. Consequence. The 1902 renovation established the modern organizational footprint of the White House. It removed the Victorian-era greenhouses on the west side and created the temporary executive office building, which soon became the permanent West Wing. This decision fundamentally streamlined the presidency by giving the president and key staff a dedicated workspace, allowing the main mansion to function primarily as a private home and state reception area. It was here that the Oval Office would later be situated under President William Howard Taft. 3. The Harry S. Truman Reconstruction, 1948 to 1952. Reason. This renovation was driven by crisis. Decades of heavy additions, like the 1927 third floor, hurried patchwork repairs, and outdated mechanical systems left the building dangerously unsound. Engineers determined the White House was structurally failing, with floors sagging and walls cracking under the weight of the masonry. Consequence. The Truman Reconstruction was arguably the most significant alteration in its history. The entire interior was meticulously gutted, leaving only the external shell walls intact. A modern steel frame was built inside, creating a new, structurally resilient core. This process allowed for the installation of entirely new, state-of-the-art plumbing, wiring, air conditioning, and fireproofing. The reconstruction effectively created a new building inside the old, safeguarding the historic facade while giving the presidency a stable, fully modern foundation for the next century. It nearly doubled the building's room count and added essential underground service levels. Predictions and solutions for future renovations. Given the success of the Truman Reconstruction in ensuring structural safety, future major renovations will likely be driven by three factors: technological obsolescence, heightened security needs, and climate resilience. Prediction. The bulk of future large-scale projects will focus on the subterranean spaces and unseen infrastructure. Upgrades to the Situation Room, for instance, will be continuous to keep pace with global communications and data security requirements. Furthermore, as climate change increases the frequency and intensity of extreme weather, the White House must become a model for resilient infrastructure, requiring major overhauls of drainage, climate control, and backup power generation systems. We can also predict increased integration of sustainable technologies and energy-efficient building systems, pushing the building toward net zero operation. Solutions. To manage these inevitable future changes while preserving history, administrations should adopt an institutional, nonpartisan approach. Strategic preservation plan. Extend the mandate of bodies like the Committee for the Preservation of the White House to include digital and mechanical infrastructure. This separates essential, non-negotiable systems upgrades from purely decorative or political refurbishments. Public transparency. While security necessitates some secrecy, being transparent about infrastructure projects, especially those tied to sustainability, can demonstrate responsible stewardship of public assets. Dedicated trust fund. Establish an independently managed, non-governmental endowment or trust fund specifically for long-term structural and technological upgrades, insulating essential maintenance from the political cycles and immediate budget pressures of Congress. Conclusion. The story of the White House is one of continuous renewal. Each major renovation, from the necessity of rebuilding after fire to the imperative of preventing structural collapse, was a profound commitment to the endurance of the American government. By making bold, decisive changes when needed, like creating the West Wing or installing a steel skeleton, each administration ensured that the White House remains a secure, functional, and symbolically powerful home for the nation's chief executive. It is a living, breathing symbol, constantly evolving to reflect the needs of a changing world.